Hi, I'm Bill Helms from Dominion Technologies Group, and today I am going to rebuild an AC adapter, a 1234YF high side, and I'm going to show the procedure on how to do that. While you're doing this, you'd like to have a clean, spacious area, well lit, not too dark. You could use an AC kit that comes in a bag like this, or a tool kit that comes in like this. I have a few tools that I just threw in a box here to get ready, and the proper lubricants, and I have a print here to go by. A couple rags for cleaning off the AC adapter and its details. Now, normal procedure for rebuilding an adapter of any sort, period, is I'd go through steps of one, I'll disassemble it, and I will clean, deburr, retap any details that possibly needed or is necessary. And then two, I will go through the details checking for worn, damaged, or broken details that I'd replace normally. And then three, I would go through replacing all the seals and the screws and the springs that need to be replaced, lubricating them generously with the proper lubricant that I'm supposed to use, which in our case is a PST 407 from G-Man. And then four, I would assemble it, and five, it's ready for run out and return to the plant.
Great.
So right now, I'll start by disassembling the AC adapter. In this particular adapter, I will start by taking the three main screws right here on the top. Yeah, one here, and one right under here. This adapter looks to be pretty clean so far. Now, I usually, after I get it all apart, will check my details for damage. That fitting was a bit tight,
So yeah,
but
you
you had to move it out of the way just a little bit so you could get to this one screw on the side here.
Okay.
Now I'm taking the top half off, and I'll set it off to the side. I'll pull my spring out. I'll pull my locator, and it'll end up like this. Now that the screws are out, your bottom half in a spring, and I just line these up here. And now these glands right here, I can use a pair of needle nose, and I gently just pry them up. They just pretty much set in there with an O-ring seal on them. Most of the parts here look pretty clean. As you can see, it's pretty clean on the inside. I don't think I'm going to have to really do any cleaning tank. Now on this piece here, you want to use a rag so the ball bearings don't fall out. Slowly pull this out here, and there they are. You should have 6 of them. They're pretty small, 9/64 of an inch for this particular adapter, a 1234YF. And here's a seal here. I'll set that on here. Now that I got that part there, I will remove that Smc fitting. Which screws out. It has a seal on the bottom of it. It's pretty important that they have those. So I always make sure. If not, I'd have to get another one. Once I got that out, I can set it on the bottom. That's when I start unscrewing the screws that are 440 by 3/8 long right here, and holding the arbor in place. And there's 4 of them with lock washers. You can see some of the lubricant on here. This one was pretty well lubricated. That's pretty good. You want them to be not too sloppy, but
not dry either.
yeah, definitely not dry. And I can dump the screws out right here on the rag. Now as I'm going along, I'm going to pile all the stuff that's getting replaced over here. This is our normal seal kit replacement. Now I'm going to take the valve spools out. Okay. For that, you need an Allen wrench and a screwdriver. You can see the little screw head in here on the bottom. What I usually do is I hold the screwdriver and just loosen the Allen nut. Just a little bit. Just enough to knock it. Now, I can unscrew it the rest of the way.
And what would you say, Bill, is the amount of time that usually you spend to do this procedure?
It depends. It depends on if some of the stuff comes off easy. Sometimes Sometimes these can be stripped out a little bit. Sometimes there's notches in here and it slips. You have to use a vise. In this particular case, everything was well taken care of, and in the plant that it came from, they kept it pretty well lubed up, nice, and it looks like they replace their O-rings and seals and stuff on a regular basis. I think they do like 12,000 vehicles, and then it's ready for a rebuild. And on this particular one here, I pull these pieces here out. They have the Allen nuts in them. As you can see, they dropped out. I'm going to set these off to the side because they get replaced with the seal kit. Now I can take an Allen wrench and just push just a little bit on the screw, and it'll pop the valve spool out. As you can see, these valve spools look pretty clean. There's one right there that shows a little bit of O-ring breakdown. A lot of wear there. That's pretty good for 12,000 cars. 12,000 vehicles there. Okay, so now everything's done as far as disassembly, except for pulling out the piston here and laying the screws right there. And you can see the inside's pretty clean there for the piston. That's an air actuated. Now, you can see a little bit of aluminum dust right here. It's from the Schrader valves. A lot of them are aluminum that they go on all the time, and you'll get some dust on there. But we'll wipe it all off and clean it before we ship it. Now I'm going to pull all the seals off that I'm going to replace. I'll usually start with the body. I use my pick, and I go right in here for, there's a seal, and it has a small glide ring inside of it that goes into the center of this seal right here. I'll set it right here so you can see it. It's pretty small. And I'll pop out the seals that are right here. And I have a couple seals on this end. You can see if you just kind of push it in just a little bit like that, it'll lift up and you can get under it and just pull it out. And you get the seal right here and the seal here. So now that I got all the seals off of that part, I'll set it off to the side. I'll pull my springs off. Wow. This one here didn't have a spring in it. It must be the oil. A lot of plants don't use the oil, so they'll improvise and they'll just empty it without a spring in it. I'll put a spring in it when I rebuild it because it's part of the seal kit anyway. Now I'll take off our seals. This one here happens to be a backup ring, and you can see it's got a split in it makes it easier to put on and off. Now, I'll take my O-ring and my pick, and I'll just peel it back. Get the other split ring off of the bottom here. Put it in there. Then I have the O-ring right here on the piston, part of the valve spool. And I'll just continue doing the O-rings on the valve spools. And as we're changing all of these, you can pretty much sometimes just tear them off.
Can't hurt it.
But sometimes I try to be gentle taking them off, because you never know if you're in a bind. And sometimes you can still reuse these to get you through a bind, so as maybe you don't stop the line from going, you stop the line from going down or something like that, and you have to do it till you can get a fresh one in there and order it. So I try to be careful with the O-rings that I take off, just in case. Or at least I tell some of the maintenance guys at the plants. It helps. I actually learned that from one of the maintenance guys. It helped him get through a couple of things while he was waiting for some new parts. Well, once I get these all off of here, then I'll go. Now these are ready. Now I'll pull the O-ring off of the actuator piston. I'll check this one for some O-rings. The only thing I got is right down here, the main seal for this adapter. And you just get right under it, give it a little twist sideways, and it comes right out. Not too much digging or anything, so I don't gouge the part. There's no O-ring on this one. I'll set the springs over here. Now I'll take the O-rings off of the glands. They'll just come off. Okay, that's all of the seals and the O-rings and the ball bearings. I got a couple O-rings that kind of held on over here to this detail. It is the seal retainer that goes on the end of the valve spool piston. As you can see, I have an assembly print on the side that I'm going by. I don't know, sometimes you don't have access to the assembly prints, but on these kits here, it's got an assembly print on it. It tells you all the detail numbers right down here for the made details, and then all the purchased items for the seals and ball bearings and screws and washers. So that sometimes helps. And on the inside of the kit, it also has another chart of your main seals that you replace. as a seal kit rebuilding. You can see there's a pick set, usually sets right here for you to help you, and then O-rings. Then you have your gland seal. And you have a couple of washers and screws and compression springs. There's a couple more compression springs on this side. But it's pretty much everything that you need to rebuild the adapter. Okay. Now I can see on the end of the SMC fitting, the seal is in there. So I'm not really going to break this seal. These look pretty good. They don't look damaged or torn up. So when I'm rebuilding it, I probably won't take those off. This main one here I took off so that I could set it flat when I was working on it. But you can see the seal right here at the end. Okay. Now that I have all the parts taken apart, I'm going to wipe them off. I'll get these out of my way first. And as I'm not going to use them again, I'll just put them in the bag here. Set all of,
That way you're not mixing your old parts and your new parts, right?
that's right. So I don't mix them all up. I have a couple stuck here on the ends. There. Okay. There's the missing spring. It was on my magnet. I'll set that off to the side. And I'll start wiping down details. While I'm wiping them down, I'm going to look and check them for burrs and gouges and wear marks and this piece here is pretty smooth on the inside. Doesn't look beat up on the outside too bad. So it's reusable. I'll leave that one there. Pretty much all the parts look reusable. Now I'll clean off my actuator. Now wipe. As you can see, it's got some aluminum dust on it. I'm going to get it as clean as I can with the rag.
Now, do you ever use your tool to help you clean a little bit, just to put pressure to get into little spots?
I have before.
Depends
This
how
one
dirty,
right
I
here.
guess it is, right?
Huh?
Depends
Yeah,
on
if
how
it-
dirty it is.
If it's really super dirty, I take it to a cleaning tank.
Okay.
This one here looks pretty good now. So far. Okay, so this here is a clean part here. These don't look too bad. I'll just fold the rag up a little bit and go around the inside and wipe off some of the excess grease or lubricants that we use. And I'm kind of watching to see if they used anything else, because if they did, it could be like contaminated, and you don't want to use anything different than what's specified for the adapter, because it disintegrates the O-rings, breaks them down, makes them sticky. When they're sticky, then everything doesn't move right. These here look pretty nice. They're all pretty cleaned up. And they do get dirty. You'd think because they were covered they would stay clean, but they do get some wear and tear on them. Now, this piece here, it shows you right here on the, it's a lock piston. Now this here is what actuates some of the ball bearings, tightens them up so it locks. So when I'm done cleaning this one off, I'm going to look for some wear. Right up around here where the ball bearings ride on. Now this one here feels pretty smooth. So I can still reuse this detail. It's not damaged. It's smooth right here where it rides up and down on the arbor. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of burrs or anything on it. It's important that they be smooth, where they got seals and ball bearings and stuff riding on them. Now I clean these pistons out as best I can. They look pretty good. The threads look pretty clean. You can see the threads right here are really small. It's like a 440 thread. It's where that Allen nut goes on and attaches the retainer, the seal retainer on the spool. You got to be careful when you tighten those up, because it's such a small thread you could break it. Just twist it off with too much torque. Okay, now those are pretty clean. Now this piece here has a lot of dirt on the outside. Clean these out. The spring pockets. I'll take my pick and reach down in here a little bit with it. Being careful that the pick blade doesn't go through the the rag and scratch up the cylinder wall. You can even use a Allen wrench. Okay. These look pretty clean too. They weren't too bad. A little bit of lubricant on them. Okay, wipe the ends here where the O-rings are going to go. Checking, of course, for any burrs around by the O-rings. So I don't want to cut an O-ring or pinch it, getting it caught on a burr or something. It gets snagged and then ripped, and we don't have vacuum seal. And that should take care of that. Yeah, let me try. This one here. Should get that little wall right there. Yep. That was it. That's what I needed there. That helped just to get that little lip right on the inside here. The little lip right here on the inside has like a catch-all, and it'll catch a lot of grease and stuff right here on this wall. And I had to get a little bit of that dirt off of there. This seems to be working pretty good. Usually they're pretty bad, and I have to take them to a cleaning tank where we use mineral spirits to clean them out. Now, the little seal retainers, I just use an end of the rag, and they're pretty clean. Yeah, they got a small little recession right here where a seal sets inside of. So I want to make sure that they're still smooth and there's nothing in the way there that's going to lift that seal, or so something can get under it. And you can see it is picking up something and leaving it pretty clean afterwards. So after we're done, we should be ready for another 12,000 vehicles. Okay. Now I'll do the actuator piston. This is the part that, after the adapter clamps on the Schrader valve, it's air actuated with 30 psi air, so you don't destroy the spring in the Schrader valve. So you want to make sure this is going to run pretty smooth here, because you're not using a lot of air pressure to open that. Still pretty smooth in my fingers. I don't feel any burring. Piston doesn't have any burrs on it. And just a lagging little piece of dust there. Now it looks pretty clean. So I got the actuator. Now I'll take care of the top. The inside wall has a little dirt in it, and I'll wipe that out. And this face. There's a little lip right there on that wall. And as you can see, there's a little bit of some stickers from the plant that they use to mark. I'll make sure that that's not in the way setting on there. Now, I have a straight pick here. There's a little air hole right here on the side. I like to make sure it's clear of debris. It's so the actuator can recess. It relieves the air behind it, the spring pocket air. So I always like to make sure that that's clear. I don't see anything down here. Just a little bit.
So it's pretty important to have all these different types of pick tools too, right?
Hmm. Well, the pick tools help, and it's just the more that I take it apart, the more you look, the more you see, like there's pockets, you know, you don't want them to get too dirty or anything like that. It helps for the adapter to move smoothly. The same thing with these holes right here, the pockets for the ball bearings. You know, I'll just run pick just nice and loose. See if I pick up anything on the wall. You know, just to make sure it's clear, because it's like a tapered hole. Your ball bearing goes in it, but it's not supposed to push all the way through. Now that I got this all taken care of, it's all clean and should be ready. I'll do another quick inspection of the parts. Got a smooth face there. I have a smooth face here. All the walls are pretty smooth. I don't see any burrs. I hold it to the light. I do see something right there. Looks like just a little bit of grease, but you can see how the spools are going to go all the way through to the other end. So you want to make sure it's nice and smooth on the inside there, where all the seals are going to ride on that wall. And I just make sure that the cross holes don't have any burrs. This hole right here crosses in to that hole. All right, that's where your air is actuated, or your fluids flow and stuff through these two here. All right, so you want to make sure right where it crosses that there wasn't nothing caught up in there, maybe pulled in by vacuum or pushed out through fluid, or caught when it was rebuilt once before, and made sure there's no burrs on there. That's going to hang up the smooth movement of your valve spool. And this looks pretty nice there. Everything's smooth on here. That's pretty clean there. That one's good. Clear right through there. My edges. Nothing's burred up. No. This one here is pretty good. I always like to check this roll pin and make sure its opening is sticking out this way, because it's a thin wall right here for that hold on. Everything looks pretty good through that main orifice. I don't see any obstructions. And the rest of this, no burrs around the orifices here. Now if there were, I have a tool and a Vargas tool and some files and some Scotch-Brite. I like just taking a file sometimes, if I find a burr, keep it all smooth. Lightly. I don't press down hard just to knock anything off that's on that face. Then with an air hose you could blow it off, a rag can wipe it down.
So the preparation is pretty critical.
Yes. You want to make sure that it's cleaned off and there's nothing in it. So now that I'm done doing that, I'll get rid of these rags here, and I got a couple of new ones that I'm going to keep right here. All right. Now, I'm getting ready here to reassemble. And usually I'm going to keep one to wipe my hands off. And this one here, I'm going to lay down because the screws that I'm going to replace and the valve spools, when you're rebuilding, get a little bit of removable Loctite on them to help keep them. And so I'm going to put a little dab on them and let them dry while I'm lubricating some of the seals. So I'll move that out of the way. Here I'll put a touch.
And what is that?
This here is 242 removable Loctite. It's what Dominion recommends on the ends of these parts, and I kind of put it lightly. As you can see, I touch it up, some of it off, set it off to the side. Same with the screws. I'll rub excess off just a little bit on a roll. And I'll let these set while I'm lubricating up some seals. I'm going to set everything off to the side.
So it's sort of key to be organized, right?
Yes. At least try to. Now I will pull the seals that I need here. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to set these on. Now the first seal, it calls out right here. Goes on the side of the top here. It's a 2024C. And it'll tell you where it's at, right here in this box. The 2024C. It's in this row right here in the middle. Now if it was in a bag, you'd have to lay them all out and kind of pick through them and match them to the old ones. Now, when I get this O-ring, there it is. I got another that I'm going to set here, so keep the table cleaned off. I'm going to use the PST 407 from G-Man. Stuff's kind of like applesauce. And what I do is I find a little cup and squeeze it out. As you can see, it squeezes out like a goop.
It's good stuff, right? It works.
It works great. We use it on all of our adapters now. Now, I get a little bit on my finger, and I put it on the O-ring. And I'll set that O-ring right there on its spot where it goes, and it shows me on the print right here. Now I'll pull the next one, which is right there on the side, just under it, a 2031C, which is right next to the 124. These kits just make it a lot easier to rebuild the adapters. I put that on, and I have that one set in there. It'll be ready to go. Then I'll look up here. What I'm basically doing is just putting O-rings on some of the details that I can get, like out of my way right now, while this stuff here is setting. And I got right here at the top on the piston, it should be a 210C. Now, you can see it on here too. The same thing as the print there. I'm trying to keep this one open. 2210 would be right here. And I'll lubricate that up. And I'll put it on. Then I'm going to do the glands so I get them out of my way. And the glands, you can see it's a 2114C here, which is located right here in the middle, which should be right there. And I'll pull out 3 of them. And then just get some on the end of my finger.
then after you lube a ring, you automatically put it on. You don't set it down like, say, for example, on the rag, right? You don't set the lube, say once you lube up a ring, you don't set it down. You automatically put it on the part, right?
Yeah, I grabbed the wrong.
Oh, did you grab the wrong one?
Oh, it's right here. It's 2018 for the glands.
Okay.
Yeah. I grabbed the ones for the piston. Yeah. The glands are...
Well, see, that's one thing you'll know is that if you have the wrong one, it's not going to fit, right?
Oh yeah, you can tell right here, see? That one doesn't fit on there, it's too big. It fits right here.
Yeah.
Goes on the piston.
So,
I got a clean rag. Actually, you don't even have to set it on the rag. You can set it right here on the plastic. But it's a clean rag, and I'll put them on. They just kind of snap on. It doesn't take too long once you get the hang of this to rebuild an adapter. It's just a few tricks in putting it back together that help out. Now while this here is sitting here drying, I can put the ones that I lubricated for that right on here on the valve spool pistons. There, okay. Now, I'm going to get the main seal, which is right here. It's a 2204C, which is located right up here in the top. And now we'll get that one ready. Okay. Now, you see where it sets? It's going to set right down there on the ledge, just down at the bottom. So my finger's not going to fit all the way. So what I do is I get it started, and then I can use an Allen wrench to just kind of push it down into its pocket. And it just snaps right down in there. And you can just kind of twirl this around it a little bit, make sure it's even all the way around, and you got your seal in there. And it's all set. Now I can take this piece here, I can put some of this lube on the sides here where that one piston's going to go around.
Yeah, that way it'll move
Yeah.
easier.
Yep. And at the same time, because there's seals that'll seal up against this side here, I put a light thin layer of sealant right on that edge. Ergo why I don't want burrs on there, because it would cut your finger. Now I can take and put the actuator right in there. You can see how it moves nice and smooth. So now that piece is ready for when I get ready for my assembly. Now I'm going to do the seals that go back on the actuator. I need these 6. I'm going to set them on the rag. And what I like to call it is, I'm going to make an O-ring sandwich. And I'll pull out it calls them out right here, a 2007 and an 8007 backup ring and a 2007 Parker O-ring. Well, I'm going to have to improvise on this O-ring here. Pick up a couple with my pick.
Yeah, 'cause there's
So the
small.
pick helps you out pretty good with that. Yeah, the pockets are small for fingers, but pick works fine. All right, now I'll just pick the O-rings up and kind of mush it around in here a little bit. And I can set them right up on here. And then I take the O-ring and I just kind of spin around it a little bit, get it down to here. And I'll do the same thing with the rest.
Sort of stretch it over a little bit.
Yep, just a little bit, because you don't want to break it. Okay. In this case, it helps to sometimes have some fingernails, just a little bit. Now I got those ready. Now these split rings make it a lot easier to put these on over and under the O-ring to make like an O-ring sandwich. First I'll do underneath, then I'll pull the O-ring down and I'll put one on top of the O-ring. And you just split them open a little bit and press them back down with your finger. They go on pretty good. Now, I will take and put some lubricant on that finished one. Then I'll continue to do the same thing to the other two. Now what I do is I open the split just a little bit with my fingers, and you can see that it's still open.
But you're not lubricating that, are you?
Huh?
Are you lubricating that split ring?
It's a hard plastic ring.
So
It's
you don't have to lubricate.
not really, no. I put it on the whole O-ring because the O-ring's the seal. All this here is like a slide. Right. And I want it on the seals because the lubricant, not only does it help it slide, but it helps it seal too. And put these on. And get these two on before I lube those up. Yeah.
Sort of snaps right in there, huh?
Yeah. It helps to have small fingers like mine, man. I tell ya. Bigger your hands and fingers are, a little bit more difficult it is, but once you do it a couple of times, you get used to it. And it's part of the maintenance, so.
You gotta do it.
Yeah. Either you got to do it or you send it here and we do it. And then they're nice and smooth and you can see where the split closes back up and everything works. So now I'll lubricate that. And this one. And that'll take care of all those. And you can see that I have some lubricant on there. It's right around that area there, because that's going to go like about in the middle of the body where that wall is that it slides up against. Now that I got those, just like a regular seal kit, I'm going to start the body assembly right now. So I'll need the springs, and it shows on your print right here on the outside of the kit, the same as it shows here. Just larger one makes it a little bit easier to see that the spring goes down in the pocket and sets on the bottom shelf of the pocket right here on the body. So I will set the springs, and I just kind of drop them in there. Let them find their home. Then I will take, now lubricate the edge where the O-ring's going to go. You can do that with the springs in or with them out, because I'm putting lube on the O-ring again too. I want to make sure I get it pretty nice, and then I'll set it right down in there. It drops right in. You can see it hanging just out the bottom there. And I'll do that to the rest. Okay, now that I got that in there, I'm going to press with my thumb or my finger, either one. I like to use my thumb. I push the detail down on the spring, and I pass it into the corridor that's in there that the seals are on. Now the seals are holding it. So now I can set this down, and I can start on this side. What I'm going to do is I will grab the Allen nuts that are part of a regular seal kit. They get changed every time you rebuild the adapter with a seal kit. And that's where we were putting our removable Loctite, was on the threads there that are going to have the Allen nut screwed on. Now what I'll do is I will pull the O-ring, which is a 2009. Right up here in the corner. And that's the one that goes underneath the seal retainer. Sets right in this area. But what I'll do for the assembly, so I'll lubricate these up. And I'll set them right here on the top. Right right in that pocket. Then I will set with the O-ring end. You can see the difference. This end right here is for the Allen nut. The side with the little O-ring groove off to the end of it is for the O-ring groove. And I'll set these on with the O-ring groove down right over top of the O-ring. Now the Allen nut, as you can see, has a little lip on this end right here. That's the top. So I will set the Allen nut, the lip up inside the seal retainer.
It just fits in there perfect.
Yep. Now, with my finger, you can see it move up just the slightest bit. I will hold some pressure while I get the Allen nut started. And I will turn the Allen nut until you feel the movement. Can you see it turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once I get that far, I go to the next one. And I'll do the same thing for the next one. Get the Allen nut started till it turns. I can feel it turn with my finger. There. Okay. Once I get it to turn, I will take and I'll hold the screwdriver and I'm not going to crank it, but I'm going to give it an extra turn. Just an extra little oomph, not a lot, because I don't want to break that small 440 thread. But I just want to make sure that it's tight on there.
Yeah, so you're using the screwdriver so that piston doesn't turn, right?
Yep.
Otherwise you wouldn't be able to tighten it.
No. And it's pretty much already tightened. You're just giving it that extra little lock to it, and that's it. Because you need that to be down on those O-rings right there. Because this here is how your fluid's going to come in. Air's going to open that up the slightest and come out the sides of it. And the O-ring is going to stay up in that pocket while the fluid's coming out, because it's forcing it to stay up while the fluid comes out, while your Freon moves through there, and your vacuum. So now I got that part. Next comes the actuator, the arbor. Now, you can see the 4 screw holes right here on this flat. And then there's a hole right here. The larger hole is for your roll pin, for your alignment, so you get everything aligned right. So what I'll do is this O-ring right here, I want to make sure it goes into this groove right here smoothly, so I will put a little bit of lubricant right in the O-ring groove. Once I do that, I'll spread it around just a little, and then I'll wipe the excess with my finger kind of off the edge.
Yeah, you just want it in the groove, right?
Yeah, I want the O-ring to slide into that groove without being pinched, because it's such a tight tolerance being held there. You don't want to pinch the O-ring and force a leak. Now when I get it there, I make sure it's down. I will get my screws, get a lock washer. So I'm going to pull out the lock washers, which come in the kits. They're part of the seal kit. They're pretty small too. 440 screws. And I will put them and just set them in the holes.
That way you can tighten them all down at the same time.
Well, I'm going to tighten it down kind of like you would do if you were changing a tire. I'm going to go across and across and across.
That way you get a nice tight seal.
Yep. Okay. Now, I start by, just as it starts to pull down, I see this, I feel the slightest pull. I come across to the other side because I want it to be on straight. I don't want it to go crooked. There. And I get this one. And I'll come here to the other side. Okay, now and I'm just tightening a little at a time, making sure it's pulling evenly over that O-ring. Okay, now that I got it, it's tightening up. I'm not trying to crank it down or anything, but I want it to be tight. And that should do it. Okay, now I look and make sure that I don't see light coming through that. Now, I will take and I'll lubricate around the O-rings right here. I'll lubricate the side of this because I gotta, it is a it's a U-cup seal is what it's called. All right, now I've got it pretty well lubricated up. And now we'll pull out the U-cup seal. Now I got both sides of my fingers, and I just lubricate the inside and the outside. And I'll take it, I'll push it over. Now, I have a spring. That's usually part of your seal kit too. That spring is going to go over the top there first. I'll put a little bit of lubricant on the inside of here. Now I'm trying to make it a thin coat right here on the inside of this wall, because it's going to go up against this wall here. And then I'll put a little bit right here just for the ball bearings that are going to go in there. I got those two ready. Now I take a little bit thin coat here, and that helps to, I'm going to put the ball bearings, which are part of your seal kit too. I'm going to take a ball bearing, I'll put it in. Now I'm going to actuate it back and forth and make sure there's nothing inside the holes there as I'm going along. And the lubricant is kind of holding the ball bearing in there at the same time so they don't fall out. It's usually why I have the rag down mostly, because they're not going to bounce on the rag. Otherwise they bounce all over and you lose them.
So you're lubing those ball bearings while you're putting them in? So you're putting a little bit of lube on them too?
I just went around here and lube just kind of etches off in the hole. It'll work its way because of the opening and closing motion when it's working. But I do push it back and forth a little bit when I get it in there. I mean, I made sure there was nothing in there, but hey, Murphy's Law,
Right.
You know? Okay, so they're all in there. Now, I'll take this piece, come over it, and then I just kind of make sure that it's moving and kind of twist it a little bit, and you can feel the ball bearing squeezing a little bit with your finger in there. Now that that's done, I can put the spring on. Then, now, this U-cup seal, the outside slides against this wall right here. So I'll lubricate that wall. I'll just put a little bit in there on the end of my finger and just work it in. On the whole wall, you can feel a little recess in here. That's probably as far as that seal will ride within. And I just lubricate it up to there. Wipe the excess off of the edges. And I set it on. Now, and I do it all the way to the end because it's going to seal on the one seal down at the bottom. Now I just made sure everything slid on nice and smooth. Now that I've got that, I can turn this upside down, just like that. And you take a screw, put it in the end there, and you can line up the screw hole. Now you know where you're close to, okay? Now here comes the fun part. Now I'm going to pull these O-rings right here up at the top. They're a 2012. 2012s are right here. I need 3 of those. Okay, I got 3 of those. I'm going to lube them up. And they go right in the O-ring grooves. And I make sure that they're lubed up right here on the top. And this here we already lubed up. That's where these O-rings will seal up against the top of that face. Now I got that. Now, here's the key. This SMC fitting goes into this screw hole right here, okay? That screw hole right there lines up with your lock right here on this slot. It's the only slot on this part that goes all the way through. See where the socket head cap screws come in here and hold this down. But that slot is right there, so that's your alignment. You're going to align this slot with that screw on the rest of these. And it also tells you where everything's at. You have your refrigerant port is right here. You have your vacuum port is right there. And your oil port is right there. So, now you got your alignment. You'll know how to set these up. You know you're not using the oil port, so you can put your oil screw with the one with the screw head in right here. Now what I do is you see the straight line right here? I line that screw on the outside in this line. And I push it down. Then I take my port for my vacuum, and I'm going to need this to air actuate because I'm using the refrigerant. I'm going to need this one for the vacuum because I'm using the vacuum. I will line them up. And you can see how it lines up with the holes. In a straight line to your farthest reach out. And I'll press this down. Then the last one, your vacuum port, you can see it. So I'll line it up. Just pretty much with by eye.
But that alignment's important?
Oh yeah, I'll show you. So now that's aligned. Okay? So now that's all set. And I'm almost to my final stage here. Now you'll notice there's a spring up here. It's calling for the 72285 for your air actuator. I pop my spring in there. Then I get my locator. See the little protruding end of the locator? See the little pocket right in here? The pocket goes to the spring side.
So it sort of holds the spring a little bit.
Yep. And the protruding end is going to seal the seals that go right in here for the actuator. You have 2 seals. calls out. Right here you have an 007C O-ring, and you have the Trelleborg rod seal. Here's the Trelleborg rod seal. And here's your 007 O-ring. Now I'll lubricate the O-ring. And I'll set the O-ring right here in that center hole. Then I'll lubricate this shaft up a little bit, and I will take the Trelleborg glide ring and I'll put it on here. And I'll slide it down. In the excess lube, I'll re-lube it.
Now, is that piece gonna move? The green piece you just put on, is that gonna move back and forth?
Oh, no.
That just keeps that,
That's holding.
holds
See,
it
what
back,
I got to do is I got to turn this up. It's holding all that up,
right?
so it's not dropping out of my hands. Now, here's where your alignment comes in. Here's my slot right here. Okay? See all those holes right there? Those are all lined up to go into those holes. I will put this right here. I will slowly bring it down. And now with my fingers, I'm going to take that locator ring and that Trelleborg glide ring and that O-ring, and I will seat them with my fingers. I push down. Do you see it? Okay. Now, if everything's properly aligned, I will be able to seat it down like this, put my screws in, and just a little turn right here, I can see the screw head. And I lock them down. And I tighten them.
With that
And
Loctite
they're
on,
not cranked. No Loctite on these screws. They got washers,
that wash-
lock washers.
Okay.
Then I pull my fitting back into its alignment
Tighten that
and
back
tighten
up.
it down. And I should be ready to run it out.
And how long do you typically run them out for?
I do 10 cycles. Just like if we were running on the line, I simulate it.
Okay.
I fill up a tank, then I empty the tank, then I fill it up immediately again, then I empty it, then I fill it up immediately again. But each time I fill it up, I pull the adapter off and then put it back on like you're putting it on a car for 10 cycles, and just watch for an accumulation of buildup to see if anything's leaking on the air lines, if there's any leaks on the sides. 10 cycles running them out, usually it'll tell you if you got some. Most of the time you put it on, if it's leaking, it leaks right away.
Okay.
You know, but that's pretty much the rebuild. And that's pretty much it. And as you can see, PST 407 G-Man lubricant only. That's all we use. We don't use anything else on this adapter. And that should conclude our rebuilding of a 1234YF high side AC adapter from Dominion Technologies.